Welcome to No Longer Conformed. I'm Erik Garthe, and we are in class with Joseph. Lessons in God's Plan. In this session, we'll be looking at Genesis chapter 41, verses 1 to 57. The intricate tapestry of God's plan. Let's read that chapter 41, beginning with verse 1. Let's just focus in and just get the full picture here. And then it came to pass, at the end of 2 full years, that Pharaoh had a dream, and behold, he stood by the river. Suddenly there came up out of the river 7 cows, fine looking and fat, and they fed in the meadow. Then behold, 7 other cows came up after them out of the river, ugly and gaunt, and stood by the other cows on the bank of the river. And the ugly and gaunt cows ate up the 7 fine-looking and fat cows. So Pharaoh awoke. He slept and dreamed the second time. And suddenly 7 heads of grain came up on one stalk, plump and good. And then behold, 7 thin heads, blighted by the east wind, sprang up after them. And the 7 thin heads devoured the 7 plump and full heads. And so Pharaoh awoke, and indeed it was a dream. Now it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all its wise men. And Pharaoh told them his dreams, but there was no one who could interpret them for Pharaoh. And then the chief butler spoke to Pharaoh, saying, I remember my faults this day, when Pharaoh was angry with his servants and put me in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, both me and the chief baker. We each had a dream in one night, he and I. Now there was a young Hebrew man with us there, a servant of the captain of the guard, and we told him, and he interpreted our dreams for us. To each man he interpreted according to his own dream. And it came to pass just as he interpreted it for us. So it happened. He restored me to my office, and he hanged him. And then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph. And they brought him quickly out of the dungeon. And he shaved, changed his clothing, and came to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have had a dream, and there is no one who can interpret it. But I have heard it said that you can understand a dream to interpret it. So Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not in me. God will give Pharaoh an answer of peace. And then Pharaoh said to Joseph, behold, in my dream, I stood on the bank of the river. Suddenly 7 cows came up out of the river, fine looking and fat, and they fed in the meadow. Then behold, 7 other cows came up after them, poor and very ugly and gaunt, such ugliness as I have never seen in all the land of Egypt. And the gaunt and ugly cows ate up the first 7, the fat cows. When they had eaten them up, no one could have known that they had eaten them, for they were just as ugly as at the beginning. So I awoke. Also I saw in my dream, and suddenly 7 heads came up on one stalk, full and good. And then behold, 7 heads withered and thin and blighted by the east wind sprang up after them, and the thin heads devoured the 7 good heads. So I told this to the magicians, but there was no one who could explain it to me. Then Joseph said to Pharaoh, the dreams of Pharaoh are one. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads are 7 years. The dreams are one. And the 7 thin and ugly cows which came up after them are 7 years. And the 7 empty heads blighted by the east wind are 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken to Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. Indeed, 7 years of great plenty will come through all the land of Egypt, but after them 7 years of famine will arise, and all the plenty will be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine will deplete the land. So the plenty will not be known in the land because of the famine following, for it will be very severe. And the dream was repeated to Pharaoh twice, because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass. Now therefore, let Pharaoh select a discerning and wise man and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh do this, and let him appoint officers over the land to collect 1/5 of the produce of the land of Egypt in the 7 plentiful years, and let them gather all the food of those good years that are coming, and store up grain under the authority of Pharaoh, and let them keep food in the cities. Then that food shall be as a reserve for the land for the 7 years of famine, which shall be in the land of Egypt, that the land may not perish during the famine. So the advice was good in the sight of Pharaoh and in the eyes of all his servants. And Pharaoh said to his servants, "Can we find such a one as this, a man in whom is the Spirit of God?" Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Inasmuch as God has shown you all this, there is no one as discerning and wise as you. You shall be over my house, and all my people shall be ruled according to your word. Only in regard to the throne will I be greater than you." And Pharaoh said to Joseph, "See, I have set you over all the land of Egypt." And then Pharaoh took his signet ring off his hand and put it on Joseph's hand. And he clothed him in garments of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. And he had him ride in the second chariot which he had. And they cried out before him, "Bow the knee." So he set him over all the land of Egypt. Pharaoh also said to Joseph, "I am Pharaoh, and without your consent, no man may lift his hand or foot in all the land of Egypt." And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphnath-Paneah, and he gave him as a wife Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On. So Joseph went out over all the land of Egypt, as Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. Now in the 7 plentiful years, the ground brought forth abundantly. So he gathered up all the food of the 7 years, which were in the land of Egypt. And he laid up the food in the cities. He laid up in every city the food of the fields which surrounded them. Joseph gathered very much grain, as the sand of the sea, until he stopped counting, for it was immeasurable. And to Joseph were born 2 sons before the years of famine came, who Asenath, the daughter of Potiphera, priest of On, bore to him. Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God has made me forget all the toil and all my father's house. And the name of the second he called Ephraim, for God has caused me to be fruitful in the land of my affliction. Then the 7 years of plenty which were in the land of Egypt ended, and the 7 years of famine began to come, as Joseph had said. The famine was in all lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. So when all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And then Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians, "Go to Joseph. Whatever he says to you, do." The famine was over all the face of the earth, and Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold to the Egyptians. And the famine became severe in the land of Egypt. So all countries came to Joseph in Egypt to buy grain, because the famine was severe in all lands. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked at a tapestry Just stop for a moment and think of the characteristics of tapestries. Before completion, only its creator knows what it will be. Its beauty must be viewed from a distance. Close range allows only a partial picture. Its intricacy reveals its magnificence. And something new is noticed upon each viewing. Listen, a life lived for the Lord becomes a tapestry of God's making. Chapter 41 is a significant portion of the tapestry that is Joseph's life. Just for a moment, a review of where we are. Visions of a leadership role, sold into slavery, a prominent servant position, falsely accused and sent to prison, a prominent inmate position, interpreted dreams of the butler and the baker, and then forgotten by the butler. Joseph's life is about to take another unexpected turn. And let's examine the pattern of the tapestry. Let's just look at this story. God's timing is perfect. Even 2 years later, verse 1, then it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh had a dream. Actually, from Joseph's perspective, it was now 13 years. Chapter 41 and verse 46 and 37, verse 2. Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh. This is the history. Joseph being 17 years old. Look at verse 8. Now it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled, and he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all its wise men, and Pharaoh told them his dreams, but there was no one who could interpret them for Pharaoh. Pharaoh's dreams troubled him, but they helped Joseph. Joseph's own dreams became trouble for him, but Pharaoh's dreams will become his deliverance from that trouble. It was another dream that set the stage for this moment. Was the butler sent to jail for this purpose? Yeah, a puzzling question arises. Why did God wait 2 years to let Joseph out of that prison? Chapter 40, verses 14 and 15. But remember me when it is well with you, and please show kindness to me. Make mention of me to Pharaoh, and get me out of this house, for indeed I was stolen away from the land of the Hebrews. And also, I have done nothing here that they should put me into the dungeon. Listen, Proverbs 21 and 1 is important. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. Like the rivers of water, he turns it wherever he wishes. Listen, God could have freed Joseph anytime. Why didn't he? Listen, if released earlier, Joseph may have gone home, and he would have messed up the whole story. There's so much to see in the life of Joseph. He demonstrated humility at all times. In verses 14 to 16. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him quickly out of the dungeon. He shaved, changed his clothing, and came to Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph, I have had a dream, and there is no one who can interpret it, but I have heard it said that of you that you can understand the dream, to interpret it. So Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not in me. God will give Pharaoh an answer of peace. Joseph modeled dependence on God while showing respect for Pharaoh. Jesus said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's. Joseph continued to demonstrate the management skills he had developed over the past 13 years of experience as a leader. Listen, take advantage of the time of plenty. Organize leaders to handle the storage. Appoint someone to oversee the whole project. Joseph displayed God's wisdom before the world, and Pharaoh responded, giving Joseph total responsibility and great public honor with a new name and a wife of nobility. But the key is verses 38 and 39. And Pharaoh said to the servants, "Can we find such a one as this, a man in whom is the Spirit of God?" And then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Inasmuch as God has shown you all this, there is no one as discerning and wise as you." And we see yet another tapestry within the tapestry. The meaning of the names of Joseph's sons. Manasseh, fruitful in the land of his afflictions. Ephraim, forgetful of his labors and family. A lasting heritage of God's power. And yet beware, God's blessing helps us forget the pain. And God's goodness can result in forgetting our need for Him. Be careful. Wasn't that a great ending? The dead vision fulfilled by God? Yes? No. It's not even close to the end. Remember Joseph's visions, and there are still 9 more chapters. God isn't through with Joseph yet. What about the tapestry of your life? Are you letting God create His work in you? Or do you think you know better than God what your life should be? Will you trust Him regardless of where He leads you? Remember Romans 8:28, where all things work together for good to those who are the called, for those who love God, for those who are the called according to His purpose. You give some thought to all that, and you have a great day.